All right, welcome to this explainer where we are tackling the ultimate, totally inevitable mystery. What actually happens when you finally kick the bucket? Today, we're going to dive deep into this question. We'll journey all the way from our deeply held cultural expectations straight through the stark and honestly, sometimes messy biological reality of death, and finally out into the grand philosophies of the afterlife. It's a fascinating ride. So let's get right into it. So here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover beliefs about the beyond, defining medical death, the immediate aftermath, the stages of decomposition, and we'll wrap up with philosophies of the afterlife. Section 1. Beliefs about the beyond. Now, you might think that in our modern, science-driven world, we'd look at death purely as a biological function. But human expectation is actually still highly focused on the spiritual. According to a 2014 Telegraph poll, nearly 60% of UK citizens believe some part of us lives on. And looking at a 2015 Pew Research survey, a massive 72% of Americans believe in a heavenly afterlife where good lives are eternally rewarded. On the flip side, 54% anticipate the existence of hell for eternal punishment. So the huge takeaway here is that a vast majority of us are still fully anticipating that our consciousness is going to continue on in some form of reward or consequence. Okay, moving on to Section 2, defining medical death. Let's dive into the clinical reality of the end, which is the exact moment where our spiritual beliefs meet the beeping hospital monitors. There's actually a super clear distinction between two phases of passing. First, we have clinical death. This is exactly when your heart stops and your blood stops flowing. Interestingly enough, people brought back from this state are the ones who often report near-death experiences, being aware of their surroundings or walking toward a warm light. But you will only have a grace period of about 4 to 6 minutes here. If you pass through that very tight window without resuscitation, you reach biological death. This is the point of zero electrical activity in the brain. It's the absolute point of no return. Game over. The final whistle.
Section 3, the messy, immediate aftermath.
Fair warning, moving past that 6-minute grace period, things get surprisingly undignified and deeply, deeply physical. The reality is, your body acts bizarrely once you are no longer driving it. The moment you are definitively gone, your muscles relax completely. And yes, that includes your sphincters, meaning whatever you had for lunch is absolutely going to spill out. Furthermore, trapped gases and air start escaping. Nurses actually regularly report hearing very alive-sounding moans and groans coming from deceased bodies simply because air is forcibly escaping the mouth. You might even see muscle twitches, so it looks and sounds alive, but it's literally just pure physics and biology reacting. To give you an idea of just how extreme the pressure of those trapped gases can get, consider the phenomenon of coffin birth. It's a rare occurrence where a deceased pregnant woman's body actually expels a newborn. Sounds exactly like a horror movie, right? But it is purely the result of abdominal gases building up and squeezing the contents of the body outward. And then let's talk about the blood. Without a pumping heart, gravity takes over completely. This is called lever mortis. Your blood will pool in whatever area of your body is closest to the ground, which creates that dark purple skin color you always see in crime shows. This gravitational pooling actually explains why, if a man dies lying face down, the blood rushing downward can even cause a postmortem erection. Again, no life there, just gravity doing its thing. Right alongside that, we experience algor mortis, known pretty commonly as the death chill. Without flowing blood to generate and distribute warmth, your physical vessel simply powers down its internal heater. Your body temperature continuously drops until it perfectly matches the temperature of the room you're in. Section 4. The stages of decomposition. Once the immediate aftermath concludes, nature truly takes its course into the long-term breakdown of the physical body, and the progression here is striking. Between 2 to 6 hours in, calcium floods your muscle cells, causing rigor mortis, which is that intense, famous stiffness. Now, if left above ground, the body is a liquefied mess within a month, totally feasted on by nature. But if buried underground, experts note it takes about 8 to 12 years to be reduced entirely to a skeleton. Fast forward 50 years, even those rigid bones will break down and become completely indistinguishable from the earth itself. Now, we absolutely have to bust a fascinating myth right here. It's an old wives' tale that your hair and nails keep growing after you die. They absolutely do not. What's actually happening is that as your cells break down, your skin simply recedes and shrinks back. So it's just an optical illusion of growth caused entirely by your tissue shrinking away. And, well, we can't talk about decomposition without mentioning the next stage, putrefaction. This is when bacteria and microorganisms start actively feasting on the soft tissue. The smell is unimaginably bad. As one person viscerally described it in the source material, rotten eggs, feces, and a used toilet left out for a month times 1,000. It is unholy. And finally, Section 5, Philosophies of the Afterlife. Having covered the rather bleak and, frankly, smelly breakdown of our physical vessel, let's expand back out. What might happen to our consciousness? We mentioned earlier that near-death experiences sometimes feature a warm light. However, in stark contrast to that, and honestly in contrast to the heavily optimistic polling data we saw in Section 1, this Reddit user's near-death experience offers a jarringly different perspective. They reported a completely blank alternative, just black emptiness completely devoid of all thought or consciousness. But a ton of belief systems and philosophers completely reject the idea of black emptiness. The famous French philosopher René Descartes argued that the soul is an entirely separate entity from the physical body. And many religions side with Descartes on this, suggesting that while the body decays into the earth, like we just talked about, the core essence of who we are detaches and lingers on elsewhere. Then you've got Friedrich Nietzsche, who approaches eternity entirely differently. He proposed the concept of eternal recurrence. This means that all energy in the universe repeats itself infinitely. Under this philosophy, you don't go to heaven or hell, you simply live your exact same life over and over again forever. Which, if you think about it, really makes you want to live your life well right now, doesn't it? That idea of a repeating life connects really nicely to the Buddhist concept of the wheel of samsara. However, Buddhists believe in a cycle of reincarnation where you actually return to live entirely different lives. You are bound to this cycle of rebirth until you finally break the vicious loop by achieving true enlightenment, or nirvana. So, as we wrap up this explainer, we're left staring right at the ultimate mystery. Are we just a worldly fancy? A momentary spark of cosmic insignificance destined purely to feed the soil and complete a biological cycle? Or are we bound for a paradise beyond the pearly gates, lingering on long after our bodies have cooled? It's the one single question we all eventually get the answer to. Until then, stay curious and keep learning.